Hey guys, it's Lava Live. Most of you guys have been asking me how do I light up my scenes in Studio Neo. So today I'll be doing it in Honey Select 2, so let's get started right away. First of all, I use graphic settings instead of DHH. There's a lot more settings that you can tweak in graphic settings, so that's what I'm using all the times. To open this, press F5. Now over here in your first tab you're having a lighting. We're gonna start with that. Choose a environment skybox that suits your taste. Mine is this one over here. It's my favorite by far. Now you're looking at this and you're probably screaming internally. Oh my God! It's normal because no settings have been tweaked so far. That's what we're gonna do over here. Intensity and exposure are one of the most important ways to start your scene when you're lighting. Usually I lower exposure right over here, so we're getting a lot more colors and shadows. Also, let me go into lighting and turn off my camera default light and my sky dummy light. Once you're happy with your exposure and intensity, go down over here and tweak your its reflection settings. Usually I look at the gloss on the bottom lip over here. Try to have a little bit of gloss, but not too much. Again, these settings are personal. If there's something you like more than what I'm doing, it's completely up to you. Doesn't mean what you're doing is bad, is what I'm saying. Lights, we've been through lights. The most important tab, if you ask me, is post-processing, excuse me. So, let's start by mentioning that your post-processing volume entirely can be controlled with this slider over here. Right now, there won't be much post-processing because I didn't tweak the settings yet. But yeah, it's good to know that you can do it over here. First off, we have ambient occlusion. I like my scenes with a bit more ambient occlusion than they should, I think. But, I don't know, I think it gives a little bit of cartoony vibe. Maybe somebody like more realistic vibes and they would turn this off completely. But I actually like a fair amount of ambient occlusion. You can actually change your ambient occlusion's color over here. Sometimes I give it a little bit of a reddish tint, but not right now because it's a night scene. Next off, we auto exposure. I do not use auto exposure. You can if you want to. You can actually control how much light you're going to be getting, and it's going to adjust automatically depending on which angle you're looking at your character. But yeah, I usually turn this one off because I tweak everything manually. Next off is the most important effect, if you ask me. It's bloom. Lower your threshold over here so we can see what you're doing, and higher up the intensity. I think the bloom gives a nice natural looking lighting because it softens everything up. Do not touch clamp over here. You can upper your diffusion if you want to. I like my scenes with a lot of diffusion. Maybe gonna lower a bit that intensity. Yeah, I think this is starting to look pretty good. I think the lighting is a bit too harsh again, so you can lower either your exposure or intensity. I think exposure is doing a very good job. Let's go back into your post-processing, I'm sorry, I keep doing this mistake. So next we have chromatic aberration. It's not that I do not like this one, but it should be tamed very well because a bit too much chromatic aberration is going to ruin your scene. Usually I tend to look at little details such as these lines over here. If I get a little bit of that, I can see them over here. Because in the center of your image, you're going to see it way less than on the sides. So that's why I'm saying be careful with this setting. I'm going to leave it at this over here. Next off is color grading. Color grading is very interesting because it gives a very drastic change to your scene. But yeah, be careful with these. I never go to HDR. I always leave it at LDR to use my LUTs. So changing these, as I said previously, changes drastically the way your scene is looking. I like dull. This is a very nice one. And to change how intensive your LLTs are gonna blend, change this over here. You can lower it down to 0 and it's gonna make it look like you have no LLTs at all. Usually I leave it at about 50%. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. I don't know why you'd use this one, but there's old poster 2. This one's scary. Yeah, I don't know why you lose this one as well, but there are occasionally, yeah, this one is really cool. I love this one. Limit red. Limit red is pretty cool too. I love this setting. It gives a very dramatic pose to it. Look at that. If I close this and just keep it like that, I think this is like really wallpaper material. But yeah, let's go back into this over here and go for a more general lighting. To be honest, I actually very like dull, so I'm gonna go take this and lower it to 50. I think this is a very nice blend between the two. Yep. So you can tweak these settings over here. I'm not gonna tweak a lot of them because, well, actually, I'm not gonna tweak any of them because I like what my scene is looking so far. Next, you got depth of field. I very rarely use depth of field unless I'm trying to make one shot in particular, because there is an autofocus, but the autofocus doesn't work very well when you go close to your character. As you can see over here, we're losing a lot of very nice detail. But yeah, if you're doing a very still image in which you're gonna stay with the same cameras over here, for instance, over here, I saved my camera to camera 10. To be honest, I'm gonna... Yeah, no. You know what? This is good. But yeah, if you're making a scene that is in movement, do not use depth of field. Even if it's in autofocus, it won't work very well from up close. Next off, we got grain. Some people like some grain in their scenes. It gives a lot of realistic and believable feel to it. To be honest, I've never been a big fan of grain in the studio. I do 3D rendering and sometimes it's actually very nice, but in these cases, I never really found the sweet spot. Next off, you got screen space reflection. Never used it. Do not even know what it does. After that, we got the vignette. Vignette is pretty cool. Not like this. It seems like a James Bond movie. Turn it down, and you can increase the smoothness over here. Lower this one down a bit. Yeah, vignette is pretty cool, I guess. I don't see it that much. Motion blur, never really used it. I don't really see it when I use the scene. Subsurface scattering is a menu you do not probably have unless you have a certain model installed. Over here you got all the presets, and yeah, these are the presets I'm going to be sharing with you guys. There's a lot of very interesting presets over here. Settings, you have your basic settings that you can change. There's not a lot of stuff that's going to very change your scene drastically, besides maybe field of view. Field of view is nice because it gives a more realistic feel to your objective. When you look at this and then you come back in, you're getting a lot more perspective from your character. You're gonna see it way more if I crank it all the way up. It looks actually pretty weird. Yeah, usually I'd go with something more of a 40. Just to get a little bit of perspective, but not too much. So yeah, this is pretty much a a good looking lighting if you ask me. Every skyboxes over here give it different lighting. You just have to choose the one that you like the most. I have to say docks over here is the one I like the most by far. So yeah, I hope this was useful to anybody else. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask in the comments section. And I surely hope to see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day.